What are the factors you think students should consider first while deciding on what course, what institution, what destination to go to for their studies?
You're looking at the environment.
Yeah.
You're looking at the culture. You're looking at the people around. Is this institution going to give me the support I get when I get into the university?
I've seen cases whereby students, don't have that knowledge about even the destination, where they are going to.
Universities, different institutions have different programs and different offices that are responsible for different things. People just need to take advantage of those things. You've paid for it, or someone has paid for it, maybe by scholarship or something. Use those facilities. Ask questions.
You have to prioritize your academic first, then the hustling second, and then you can now talk about the social life and make that third. If you don't do that, like I said earlier, it might get to the point whereby you would also want to japa from that country.
Tell me the prevailing sentiments that occupy the mindset of the youth today, and I'll tell you what the character of the next generation will be. This is TINE Africa Podcast. The new sound of international education in Africa. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of TINE Africa Podcast. This is where we talk about everything that has to do with international education in the continent of Africa. My name is Louis Adekola, and I am so delighted to welcome you to this yet another amazing, fantastic, fantabulous, and as we say in Germany, wunderbar session. Well, that's on a lighter note. Today on the episode, we are going to be talking about something that is very important. And just before we started this shoot, we were just talking about, the amount of work that goes into setting up the podcast that you watch. And I was just reflecting on the behind the scene work that also goes into the decision for students to travel abroad. Many of us engage with students on a daily basis, and we realize that they come to the office, they come with this background and experiences and interests and passion and desires, But there's also a lot of things that goes into the application process, to the choice about courses, programs, institutions, destinations. It's just decisions. But this is not usually just done by one person. So it's not just the student, it's also the parents, all the stakeholders, but also institutional representatives that are working in countries where the students are coming from. They invest a lot of work into engaging students, guiding them, supporting them, but also working with agents. So today on the podcast, we are going to be talking about how the synergy works. Like, how does all these things connect to ensure that students' realities can change? How can their dreams become reality? And today I have two amazing guests with me, and together we will be delving into the topic of, supporting students and ensuring that we can convert dreams into fantastic reality. I'll let them introduce themselves. I usually introduce them, but I'm going to just allow them to introduce themselves. So, ladies first, they say.
Thank you so much, Louis, for having us today. I am so excited to be here today. And my name is Omobolanle Durodola, and I work for the University of Hertfordshire. I love people to call me Omobi. That's what I love to be called by. But that's me. I work for the University of Hertfordshire.
I like that you said that you like people calling you Omobi, because I'm very sure that throughout this episode, we are going to be calling you Omobi.
Okay, yes.
Really nice to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
And over to you, sir.
All right, my name is Olalekan. Olufeyisan. I like to start by saying I'm a huge fan of TINE Africa Podcast. So
yeah.
I'm really excited to be here.
Okay.
Doing this. So I work with Sable International as head of admission. And I've been in the industry for a while. Yep.
Okay. Thank you for saying that, like you're a fan of the podcast and you're here now.
Yeah.
I remember that one time we were in your office, and then we're just talking about the episode you had just watched, and we love getting those feedbacks. So welcome. Maybe some of the listeners will be on the guest at some point as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, so welcome, and you've talked about what you do, and when I was talking earlier, I was talking about like the different stakeholders that are responsible for supporting students and the journey that students have. And, lots of people see people's Instagram posts and they're like, oh, this person is now studying at the University of Hertfordshire, for example. And they don't realize like the journey that they've gone through. Maybe they've interacted with agents or they've met with the regional officer. And some people, are just hearing you talk about this, but they don't really get the sense of what you do. So can we just start about, and I like that you said you've been in the industry for some time. So let's start with a little icebreaker question around what your job really entails. As you said you work with the University of Hertfordshire. Hertfordshire. Go at.
Think hard.
Think
go
hard. Okay. So your journey, because Omobi, you're a very respected person in the industry. You're very well known. Can we just have a little idea of your journey and your role?
Thank you, Louis. That's a long one. My journey, I've been in this industry for, I think, over 15 years as an agent, as a university representative. So it's been a long journey. And I'd started from the scratch, like being from the foundation as a counselor, and I rose to the rank, being a manager and then the regional manager before I joined the University of Hertfordshire in 2016, January the 6th. And it's been a very amazing journey. But what comes with that journey is a lot. It's a lot of work that goes behind the scene. And I tell people, especially students, that they don't really understand what we do to make sure that they get to the university. It's about you communicating with the counselors, with the agent, making sure that they have up to speed information about everything about the university. Be there for the students when they ask questions. Sometimes the student leaves the agent, even though I tell them not to do that, to come and ask us questions directly. We have to be there to answer this question. Working around the clock. Like I say, in this industry, our job you don't have a holiday period. You work round the clock. You start from January, you end in September, and then you start January intake again. So you don't even have time. And sometimes it does affect us. It's a lot of mental work that goes into it. And sometimes when you don't get the right feedback that you're looking for, maybe the agents are not happy with you, the students are not happy with you, but you have to be there to, show them that you're there to support them all through. So that's it. So what I do is I work with the university as the regional manager, like I said earlier, and I'm like the middleman between the university and all the agents. I also oversee Nigeria, and I also oversee Ghana. So it means that I have to be everywhere at every time dealing with people's requests. And one of the things I do for the university, and people say that a lot, like I fix things a lot. Now, there's some instances where things are not working right, and I'll go to the university and say, you know what, we can do it this way. And once they see that it works, then they make it work. So we do everything. And for me at the university, I also have been the one releasing CASs to students for the last 9 years since I joined. So I do the financial checks. I do most of the immigration talks. I do a whole lot of things. And I do live sessions on Instagram to take, people's question once in a month, because I know that I cannot be there every time. So that once in a month that I go 3 hours on Instagram talking about so many things is me being there for every student to ask me all the questions and me taking it back. So that's it.
I think that you've inspired a lot of people in this industry with the amount of work that you do. And I personally, one of the times that I would never forget was when you went to the UKVI, the Visa Application Center, and you went there very early in the morning and you were doing the Instagram live session. Students cannot enter. They've been here. I was like, oh my Lord. Because these are things that we know. These are things that people complain about all the time. But then having a face of someone that can speak to those things, I think was very important. And sometimes I love watching your Instagram live sessions, by the way. I watch your Instagram live sessions like, when we call you students, please pick our calls. I'm right here. It's 8 p.m. I'm issuing classes. I'm like, oh God, sis. Well, well done. And I really just want to take this opportunity to commend you for the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Lekon, you are head of admission at
Yeah.
Sable International, and you work with one of those agencies that she was mentioning earlier. And I would just really like you to give a sense of what that entails as well. I'll come back to you with profession, like your greatest achievement, and I think we'll say that along the line. But let's hear from you, Lekon, in terms of your role and how that.
So I'll be speaking from the angle of the agency as a whole.
Yes.
So basically, what we do, we she mentioned being the middleman between so what we play the role of a middleman also between the student and the university.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, we have the personal touch with students often, except for few cases where university reps would reach out to students and all. But then, so what agencies do is we take on the applications on behalf of the students, do the profiling to see, because the first thing we start with is the visa. You
start
come
with
to
the
us.
visa?
What I mean by starting with visa is this. So you come to us and say, I want to go to Canada, for instance. We won't just take your document and say, okay, let's do the Canada application. So we want to see first, would you be able to get, so we do the profiling, ask about your travel history and all of that, previous visa refusals and all of that, before we can now tell you that, okay, let's go ahead with Canada. Or we advise you and say, why not consider this? Why not go for the UK instead? Because you stand a better chance. So we start from that, even before we talk about putting in the application. That's for us at Sable. We don't just take on every application, to save our time and all of that. So we take on the application, we put in the application, submit to the university, and then, we chase for offers, for updates. We relate back to the student, and after that, when it gets to the point of, you've gotten your offer, okay, what next? Initial deposit, all of that. Okay, you've done that, your bank statements, we do all those checks. And also for, some other medical checkups, for other medical checks, like maybe you want to do your TB test and all of that. So we tell you how to go about it. Is it, this hospital and all of that. So we do all of that at the background. Then it gets to visa stage. We also do the visa. We support you with the visa application. Till you've gotten your visa, we do pre-departure briefing. And it also doesn't stop. It doesn't stop at that. Because even after you are there on campus, we still do a follow-up. Why? Because, we still get referrals. We can still get referrals from the students and all of that. We do all of that as well. And the marketing aspect is also there, to make sure that we keep,
everybody happy.
Of course, definitely.
You keep your organization happy and keep the institutions happy.
Yes.
I think that it's I like that you talked about the counseling side of things, you talked about the counseling side of things where, you're supporting the student, not just because people come based on the information they have. Students come to you and say, I want to go to this country, just because maybe they know someone that has gone there, but they might not be fit for that institution or that destination, or it might not be fit for them, right? So I'm going to ask you this question. What are the factors you think students should consider first while deciding on what course, what institution, what destination to go to for their studies?
Okay, for me, I'd say to students, before you make a decision, you need to look at where you're going to. It comes with researching. So I've seen some students come without doing any research, and that's where the problem is. They want to go to UK, or they want to go to Canada because their friends have gone to Canada. But are they able to deal with the Canada weather? So these are the kind of things I look at. You're looking at the environment. You're looking at the culture. You're looking at the people around. Is this institution going to give me the support I get when I get into the university? Is their international student team also supportive? Are you able to get responses? There's so many things that students should consider, and not just think about, because this person has gone, I want to go. The cultural difference is very, very key. And I say to people, you need to be able to know these things. And that's why I encourage my students that before they go, and that's why when I do live sessions, I bring alumni, current student on, so that they have a sense of the belonging before they go. They already started talking to students already at the university. We have a group where we put everybody in, and then they can ask questions. So they should look at the cultural, that cultural difference is very, very important. So they're not shocked when they get in. The support they get, support is very essential. The finances has to also be considered. To someone who say to me, I want to go to the UK, and they don't even have the finances to go to. It's not about just going to the UK. You need to be able to sort yourself when you get in. So you need to look at the finances. You need to look at if I go to this country, what do I gain from this country? Am I able to get post-study visa? Because everybody wants to they want to study and they want to get something out of where they're studying. So am I going to get post-study visa? Am I going to be able to apply for an additional course or, move into another progress, and all of that. So these are the things they need to come, think about before. And I also talk about the distance. UK is only 6 hours. 7 hours at the most, except for people who want to travel, going through Qatar and all of that. But it's like a straight journey. You go in, your parents can come over the weekend, see you, they're happy. They can, sometimes they get home bored. They want to go back home. They can go back home. So I'll tell you a quick story. I've had a student who had studied who had come to study with us during the COVID year, and she was frustrated. It was COVID year. There was nobody to. She was frustrated. She couldn't continue. She want to go back and all of that. Then I thought about it. Oh, it's only 6 hours. I'd spoken to her, gotten other students to come and speak to her, and that's where the support comes in. I was able to call other students to go see her. And so take, for instance, if she was in Canada, would she be able to just jump on the flight and go back? Or if she was in the US or Australia, take for instance. But this student didn't come back because there was somebody supporting. You need that support system. You need an institution where, whether you are the rep or you are a staff of the university, you're there to support the student at every step of the way. And for me, as long as it gets to my table, if I don't see it, I might not know. But as long as it gets to me, I would make sure that I follow it through.
Yeah, I was fascinated when we were talking about you being on a guest on this episode, and there was a student that had an issue. I was right there. Sorry, I pay attention, So you have to pay attention to be as smart as I am. So, and then there was a student who was having an issue, and then I think the student already gave up, and then right there, you just called many different people, brought them on the same call, and then resolved it. And I think it's a very good thing, and I'm glad that you talked about it. But it's also very important to also sort of balance to let people know that different destination also have their advantages. Yes, distance might work in the favor of the UK, for example, and of course the weather. It's closer to home in terms of
exactly.
It's still really close to home in terms of culture. There's a lot of cultural differences anyway. Even if you go from Nigeria to Benin Republic, there's cultural differences, right? But different places. Some people have families in different countries. Some people just want to move as far as they can. Some people have, maybe because of the course they want to pick or they want to study, it's more advanced in certain countries than other countries, or there's a place they want to do internship and they just feel like, I have to study in that country. There are different reasons, and I love how you painted it in terms of paying attention to the advantages of those different places. Now, we've talked about those things, the relevant things, and I want to ask you, Leko, what are the common mistakes that you think from your work in the industry? What are the common mistakes that you think that students usually make when deciding, or not beyond the point of deciding, but all through the process? What are some of the common mistakes that they make?
Okay, the major one, basically, Omobi mentioned it when she was, talking about some of those things at the start. Not giving enough time to research. Students just come to you and they want to go to the UK or to a particular university because their friend is there, or because maybe their brother graduated from there. They've not done enough research to actually find out, based on their own personal interest and the course, so to speak. So you've not researched about the course, you've not researched about the university and all of that, and you just go to a counselor. I want to go to this school, I want to study this course. It's a very big mistake. Because what usually happens, we know oftentimes UKV early call for interview. And that's not, particularly about the UK now. But when you find yourself in probably a situation whereby they need to call you for an interview, regarding that course, regarding your program, and because you've not done any research, you won't have much to say. And that's why some student gets refused, because it's as worse as even student not knowing, like for instance, that you want to call University of Hertfordshire and you're saying Hertfordshire University. It can be as worse as that. We've seen cases whereby students, don't have that knowledge about even the destination, where they are going to. That's one of the mistakes. And another thing is they leaving everything to the hands of the agency.
Yes.
You want the agency the counselor to write your personal statement. You want them to, with the excuse of I'm busy and I keep asking, you want to invest millions of naira and then you cannot find time to, put in a proper application to do all of this. So it's not a good thing when the counselor, maybe because you paid the agency certain amount for, in a case of Sable now, we don't charge. So when you're coming to us, we want to make sure that we make sure that you're part of what we're doing.
Yeah.
So you're coming to us, you are going to write your personal statement yourself.
Yeah.
Your personal statement. So we can give you a template, just to tell you that, okay, these are the things that they want to see. Okay, your background. I can't write your background for you.
No.
It's a personal statement. It has to be a personal thing.
Yeah.
And then another mistake is they believing that when they get there, they can work to pay their tuition. A lot of students have suffered, big time on that.
Yeah.
So what we usually advise is, fine, just make sure you have your full tuition. Even if you are going to work when you get there, the work should be for maybe your accommodation, just to support your feeding and all of that. But you'll be doing yourself a great harm if you think that you would work to pay your tuition.
Yeah.
You end up, putting yourself on unnecessary stress, undue pressure.
Yeah.
And you'll not be able to focus on your academics. And then you probably end up not graduating with good grades, which would eventually affect you, later on because of your poor performance academically.
Yeah.
So that's, in the midst of many other mistakes that, Africans make,
Yeah.
you understand? Yeah.
Thank you. I love that we spent a bit of time to delve into this. So, it gives that very good foundation, and then we can, of course, this is beyond foundation because we've gone deep into the conversation, but we can take the other questions quickly,
Yeah.
Now, what I want to say, is, a question I want to ask you, Omobi, is a bit of taken from what you said before and what Lekon said as well. About culture shocks and again about mental pressure.
Yeah.
What are some of those cultural, social, and psychological adjustments that students need to bear in mind when going abroad to study?
Number one, when we talk about culture shock, it's important that they're going to an environment that they've never been before. Now, what happens in Nigeria or how they react in Nigeria or act in Nigeria is certainly different. So I'm going to take it from the angle of academic take, for instance.
Yeah.
Lekon had said earlier, the student will come in and they want you to write the personal statement for you. And I wonder, how would you be a student and get to the university without having to do your research and doing your personal statement yourself? Now, they get to class and they expect not to do their lectures or attend lectures, or they just assume that the lecturers will let them be, or maybe they need a 60% to move to the next stage and they have a 59. And in their mindset, they should be able to push. So that's one of the things, because number one thing they're going to do is they're going to study regardless. And they want to study and come out with good grades, right? I see some people come to me when they are in school and they can't they don't have the good grades. And like, Omobi, what can we do? I'm like, there's nothing I can do. What were you doing when you got in? That's why we tell you that you need to understand your environment.
Yeah.
Do you understand? If you cannot get this environment, sometimes they go in and they don't have this. They don't have the support needed. Now, it's not like this, they don't have the support needed, but they're not looking out to the people that will help them, support them.
Yeah.
And at the university, we have all the support team that you can, whatever you want to think about, we have it at the university. So the students, when they come in, they need all of those support to help them, get themselves into the culture and the system when they get in. The kind of people that they meet. I see lots of Nigerians, they get in, they don't want to talk with Nigerians anymore. They want to talk with other set of people from other countries. And I say to them, yes, it's okay for you to mix with everybody, but do not leave your Nigerian students. Because that's how you bond, that's how you build the whole lot of things. I just don't think that, this is the way they do it here. Then I don't want to, deal with other people in Nigeria. So there's a whole lot of things that they need to put into consideration. And then once they have the support, it reduces the shock, the culture shock that they have. So they need to find out what is obtainable here. What are we supposed to do?
Yeah.
And then again, when they're in lecture room, sometimes they don't even want to ask questions because they believe that, oh, maybe the lecturer will feel they're not asking the right question, or maybe people will laugh at them. So that's part of things that they need to work with to understand and know, look at what is happening in this place. How can I work with it? How can I be better regardless of the cultural shock that I go there to meet?
Yes. I love how you said that, and it's just very perfect, and I resonate with you perfectly. As you know, I work with the university where I did my master's, right? So my experience, I've probably said it on one of the episodes on this podcast, and I said I went my first class. The lecturer came to the class and said, "Everything you know is wrong." That was what she said. I'm sure I would never forget this in my life, because not just because of the way she said it, but because of how I responded. I'm like, do you know me? I'm a very smart person. No, yeah, too. I have done this, I've done that. But, I did not allow myself to be ready to unlearn things and allow myself to be there as a clean slate. Do you understand? And I think it's a very important thing that people should need to bear in mind. And eventually, when I saw my first results, I'm like, yeah, everything I know is wrong. Because that was when I became aware, and I think it's one of the things that has helped me in my role, even working with Africans, now coming to study at the University of Sussex, where I currently work, because I can then give them ideas on how to prepare. And you said something about support system. Universities, different institutions have different programs and different offices that are responsible for different things. People just need to take advantage of those things. You've paid for it, or someone has paid for it, maybe by scholarship or something. Use those facilities. Ask questions. Use those facilities. And I just want to ask you, Leko. And this is about, Japa is a very common thing. Everybody talks about Japa, and I'm sure you probably engage with this. But we're looking at it now in terms of success, not just a dream, but how do you ensure lifelong success? I, for one, when I was choosing my university, I wanted a university and a course that sets me at a pedestal, a place where I know that I'll be revered. People would hear my name and be like, oh, that's a very good person, and, very, solid, And for me, I think that's one of the things I'm enjoying now, right? But again, okay, I'll come back to that one. But what the question is, how do you think that people can escape that mindset of just wanting to run away? Yes, it's okay to travel abroad. It's okay to stay abroad. It's not everybody that will come back home. It's not everybody that will stay abroad. But how do you escape that mindset, in order to be able to achieve lifelong success with the dream that you're currently carrying?
Okay, I think it has to be intentional, in the sense that, yes, you're talking of, escaping from whatever it is you're escaping from in your home country. So when you get there, so that you do not try to want to escape eventually again from that place when the whole reality get done on you. You have to make sure that, you prioritize what you're going to do there, your academics first, and after that, you can talk about the financial aspect. When I talk about financial aspect, that's the hustling now. You have to prioritize your academic first, then the hustling second, and then you can now talk about the social life. You can make that third. Because if you don't do that, like I said earlier, it might get to the point whereby you would also want to japa from that country. Because when the reality get done, japa, you want to japa. No, some may even want to, for instance, probably move from the UK now even to Canada, or maybe to Australia. But for how long would you be doing that? So you have to make sure that you're going into that, that school setting to learn problem-solving skills. That if eventually you don't even get to stay back, when you're coming back to your home country, you've learned some, skills that you can benefit from, and then, make yourself better, even in Nigeria or even over there. Because you see a lot of Nigerians over there doing what ordinarily they will not do in Nigeria. Some of these odd jobs and all. So it has to be intentional. They have to be intentional about this whole thing. Fine, you have Japa and all, but when you get there, make sure that, your academics, you take it very seriously. So that even after graduation, you can do something meaningful with that degree, that you've eventually, and it also starts from the course you're going into. It has to be something that relates with your personal strength.
Yeah.
Not you going for IT because people are going for IT. And then when you now get into that program, maybe cybersecurity, you don't understand anything about IT.
Yeah.
You're going to struggle. So make sure that what you're going into, relate with your personal strength. Something that you'll be able to cope with, naturally, rather than struggling. You see a lot of people now wanting to go for MRES for the wrong reason. And then you tell them to come with research proposal, they come with personal statements. So all of those things. So it's very important that, for you to be able to, benefit from this eventually, you go in the right way and you focus on the academics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love what you said about intentionality, because that's where it starts from. And the way I even asked the question was about the mindset. And I think mindset is very important. There's a quote that I love, and it says, "Tell me the prevailing sentiments." I don't know who said it, the quote, by the way. It's just one quote I love. It says, "Tell me the prevailing sentiments that occupy the mindset of the youth today, and I'll tell you what the character of the next generation will be." Because, it all starts from the mindset. This second quote. Oh, I'm feeling great today. I'm just getting quotes upon quotes. There's this quote by Napoleon Hill, and it says that desire is the starting point of all achievement, not a hope, not a wish, but a keen pulsating desire that transcends everything. I think that it starts from the mind, how the mind works, how we construct our mind, and how we set our desire on things, not allowing our desire to be based on, that hope of, greener pastures, I'm leaving Africa, I'm going to this place. That is just a wish for, I want to be as rich as this person. That is a wish. But a desire is stronger than that. It's something that encompasses a lot of things, that brings that journey, that process into the picture. And I think for me, I'm just giving my advice now, just based off of what you said, is it's important for people to understand that if you go to Canada to study, it doesn't mean that your future is in Canada. If you've gone to America or the Philippines or Malaysia to study, or South Africa or Rwanda, it doesn't mean that your future is there. And it doesn't mean that you have to be in your home country. It could be in other countries in Africa. It could be outside of, people just need to understand that we are more than that process of escapism, of running out of our country and all of that. Now, just as we wind off, I want to ask you, because both of you are award winners, right? Omobi, you have won the TINE Award for best international representative female 2 consecutive times. I'm hoping we'll get a drum roll on this one for the episode. You've gotten this 2 consecutive times, and you talked about your journey coming from being a counselor, rising through the ranks. What would be your advice for younger people in the industry who are engaging students, African students, and not just Nigerians now, African students on a regular basis? What would be your advice in terms of ensuring that they get the right support for those people, but they are also building capacity for themselves?
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you so much for the awards. I'm so excited to have it, and I'm looking forward to getting it this year. Don't worry, we'll do that. So my advice would always be, understand the student that you're working with. Have passion for the work you're doing, because if you do not have passion, that is where the problem lies. Now, I've seen some counselors just like, I'm just here because of the salaries, not the passion to do what you're doing. So first thing, once you're passionate, even if you don't have the passion, try to build it, because that's where you are. That is what is paying your bills.
Absolutely.
Do you understand? Communication also really matters. Between the students, the counselors, it's very, very important that students are able to communicate, to their counselors. And sometimes it can be tiring. Like you did mention, I didn't know you were part of, you listened to me, getting things resolved in the office last week. Yeah. And that is the thing. Now, the counselor was not doing what she was supposed to do, maybe because she didn't have passion for the job. But that already was taking the students away from the university to another university. So cultivate the habit of having a friendly relationship with your client. Now, there's some instances when you're friends with them, and then they take you for granted. Like saying, Omobi, can you write my personal statement? Can you please help me get a reference letter? Just once you are able to build a good relationship, but a strict one, they know that you are the doctor at that time and you're telling them the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So counselors should they need to evolve. They need to continue to learn things. You have to learn. Things happen different times. There are new rules from the UK. You need to know the rules. You have to be up to speed with all of these things.
Yeah.
We have the new e-visa. I was somewhere last week and they said they didn't know about the e-visa.
Wow.
I mean, do you understand?
Yeah.
And it's not their fault. They might be too caught up with work that they forgot to look at these things. I can be like that also. But don't look at the pressure of the work. Look at the goal. The goal is to make sure that you support the students to the very end. And those students that you support, I tell people, those students you support are the builders that you're going to build, that the ones that will give you a referral.
Yeah.
Whether or not the student goes. And I say to counselors, if you're listening to me and you're a counselor, don't get tired. Don't get frustrated that I've been calling this student and this student is not going, so I can't do anything. Continue to chat with the student. Sometimes put them on their phone, chat with them. It doesn't necessarily mean that they would go to school, but those set of people will give you other people that will go to school.
True.
So it's a whole lot of work. You also need to take time for yourself because it can be draining. And I say this, I'm going to say this on air. Sometimes I cry. People won't believe I cry because sometimes it gets too draining. I'm shaking. Yesterday morning, I put my phone on airplane mode for about 7 hours because my phones were, they were ringing repeatedly and I couldn't even focus on, issuing classes and all of that. So I had to put it down. Right?
Yeah.
And then focus on the emails. Yeah. And once I put it on, I started calling people and then I was apologizing. So do not feel that you're too big. Even when you grow from being, the junior role to the senior role, nobody is too big. And when I go to agents, so I say to them, I'm not a prim and proper human being. Just ask me all the questions you need to ask me. Yeah. Tell me what I need to do for you so that they can be happy and they know that, the schools that we're also representing are there to support us every time of the way. So I think they should just learn, to communicate with their students, do the best they can do. It's okay to be tired, but they should not just be tired and say, I can't do this anymore. Yeah. And then they'll do well for themselves.
Thank you. That's a very good advice. And I love especially when you when you talked about it's okay to be tired, it's okay to understand that it's a lot of pressure.
It is.
Because if you're not mentally prepared for the pressure that the work brings, you will not know how to deal with it. And once you know that it's like that, breathe. Just take some time, breathe.
Yeah.
Re-energize yourself and carry on. It is what it is.
It is.
All right, so final question, Lekon. I want to ask you, if you meet your younger self, and your younger self is seeking admission or looking for an opportunity to travel, what would be your major tip? Could be one or two, max. Okay. Your major tip for your younger self seeking an opportunity to go and study abroad.
Okay. I'm sure I've mentioned some of them in the course of the chat. So the number one thing would be, going for that particular course or program that aligns with your personal strengths and also your career goal, what you intend to do eventually. And also prioritizing academic first, hustling second, and then social life third when you get there.
Excellent. That's perfectly said. And I agree with you. What I'm saying next is not disputing what you're saying. But I think for me, I would say that it's also very important to know yourself, because some people, it is that finding the balance that helps them to cope well. But if you compare yourself with other people and say, this person doesn't have a social life, I should not have a social life, and you're focusing on studies, your brain might not really assimilate well than when you are able to blend the social with the... I'm actually describing myself. I'm so sorry. But so I need to find a balance. And I think that's one of the things that I've learned. And I think that is very, like you said, prioritizing the right things at every point of the way. You are first a student before you are everything else. And then you are investing a lot of money. You must make it count. Thank you very much, both, for such a very exciting and insightful session. I hope you had a great time.
Yes.
So, okay.
I did.
Thank you very much. Well, that was just a very good chat that I just had with Omobi and Lekon. And we wanted to ensure that we have a balanced conversation from the angle of the university representative and also from the agency angle, to let you understand that a lot of things, are available to you in terms of access, in terms of opportunities. You can stay in touch with agencies. I know a lot of people are wary based on maybe past realities or experiences of themselves or their parents. But do your research. Research is very important. Choose the right institution, choose the right course that is fitting for you, choose the right destination. And if you're going to work with an agency, ensure that you're making the right decision regarding that as well. But beyond that, take the time, check the website. Is there a representative that you can talk to? Engage them, ask questions, and when you resume, take advantage of every opportunity that is available to you. And that was the summary of the conversation today. I hope you had a great time, and I hope that you've learned one or two things, whether you are a student, a parent, a representative, a counselor, or whatnot. If you have, please give us a like, give us a follow, and please share this episode and other episodes of TINE Africa Podcast. Also, we would like to hear from you. Let us know what you think. What topics would you like us to engage? What conversations would you like us to add? Please let us know in the email showing on the screen, which is podcast@tineafrica.com. Till the next time when I shall be back, my name is Louis, and this is TINE Africa Podcast, the new sound of international education in Africa. Goodbye.